Welcome to Gaia's Love, a podcast of brief messages to help humanity bridge the gap to the new earth. My name is Vivienne Gerard. It is my delight to be a scribe for consciousness today, sharing the wisdom that flows through from Source. Here we go. Episode 204. It is Friday today. Friday here in Cincinnati. It's a little cloudy. I think maybe the sun is going to come out later. I'm not quite sure, but it was a little drizzly earlier. I went for a run and I was so proud of myself because I did much more running than I did walking this time. And when I was wrapping up the run, I was just pondering this idea of, how we are always improving. And sometimes we don't realize how much we've been improving because we're still frustrated about where we aren't yet. And so in the past, I've been able to run 30 minutes very easily and not be winded and feel strong and powerful. And that hasn't been the case this spring. And what I have been evaluating and judging myself against is what I used to be capable of. And today I just had this realization of, I'm doing really well. Like, I am getting better and better at this all the time. And I keep showing up and I keep doing it and it keeps improving. And so I'm going to focus on the improvement instead of I'm not where I want to be yet. So I feel like that applies to so many things. Diet is definitely another one as we move into summer and swimsuit weather. There definitely are some changes that are being made. I also feel so much better than yesterday. I saged last night and put on a shana really, really loud on the speakers so that the house was just blasted with this beautiful high vibrational music, and took a big exhale. So I feel really steady and clear and happy. Feels good to be happy again. Those ants yesterday really put me over the edge. And she came home last night and she's like, "What?" I'm like, "I know, the ants." Who would have thought it would be ants that would make me lose my mind? It's so funny. So this morning when I was meditating and getting ready for the podcast, I was reflecting on the agenda, how the agenda all week has been off for me. The routine that I normally follow when everyone else is in their routine has been shifted. And so I was just exploring. I was exploring these ideas. So the title that I have for today is Waiting on Others, and there's a few different perspectives about it, so we'll kind of see where we go. When I was thinking about how yesterday flowed, the realization that I had today was that, when we have repairs made to our homes, or we are having a service done, and the service technician who is going to be helping us operates by windows of time. I'm sure many have had the same experience. You're told that you have a window of time. So yesterday it was from 8 to noon. The person's going to be there between 8 and noon, and so you need to be available and flexible because they're servicing other people's homes also. And so they'll get to you in the lineup when they can, and this is sort of the window of time. Typically when I have that experience, I expect that it's going to be at the end of that time. It won't be right at the beginning. But you can't always guarantee that. And I wanted to do my run yesterday, but by the time I got started at daycare and got back here and, got a couple things organized, it was already 8 o'clock. And so I didn't want to be far away from the home when he or she would be coming. So I skipped my run. I didn't really want to drop into yoga because it's so shocking or abrupt to the system when you're really in that quiet cocoon of space and then you get pulled out of it. I didn't want to do the podcast because then I would have had to turn my phone on silent so that I could do the recording and do my meditation in advance, and I hadn't had time for that. And if I had the phone on silent, I wouldn't be able to hear if he or she called. And so it was just one of those mornings where I was waiting. I was waiting for the technician so that I could then move on with the things that I wanted to be doing in my day. And so I found other things to do, and I was creating and organizing and getting some things accomplished. And then it was noon and the technician still wasn't here, and I'd had a couple phone calls by the automated machine to say, running late. So then the technician arrived and it was probably 12:30, and then we had the footprints on the carpet. Then it took a while to get it all done, and so I was waiting on lunch, and so, it was just one of those days. And so by the time that he finished his work so beautifully, like it's all working, it's awesome, and then he left, it was almost 2:00, and I had a call at 4, and I still needed to do the podcast, and so I was starting to move through very quickly. So why do I give you the whole heavy explanation of yesterday? Because I feel like we can expand that experience out in a much broader perspective. The one experience of yesterday in a 5 or 6 hour window, if we expand that out to a year, a few years, perhaps an entire lifetime, I believe many of us, myself included, are waiting on others to give us the permission or to show up to be our partners or to be our collaborators so that we can then do the things we want to do. And so we put off doing the things that we really want to do until that person or perfect situation arrives, until the other priorities are taken care of. We put everything else on hold and we wait. And what happens is what I experienced yesterday. The frustration starts to build, the impatience, the disappointment in our own priorities not being other people's priorities, or our own creative flow being stopped or slowed down because we're waiting on others to show up for their gifts, their experiences, their co-creations. And sometimes that serves. I really believe that. Co-creation is so important, and it's how this whole energy field of Earth and humanity functions. We are all co-creating constantly with each other, and that slower movement serves when things are building momentum and new ideas are making current ideas better. But at an individual level, that's really more what I'm focusing on, at an individual level, when we are feeling the call or the creative impetus or movement wanting to go, impetus, isn't that a great word? My friend used that last week. I was like, I love that word. When we're feeling that creative impetus moving through us, and we have to stop it or hold it back, or we believe that it doesn't have space to be shared until someone is there to share with, or someone is there to have that experience with us, we slow down our growth. We slow down our manifestation of who we came here to be. And so I believe there's a way to have both, to be able to flow our own energy in ways that are natural and follow that flow and follow that rhythm and movement and creative, alignment. And in doing that, in trusting our own flow, have space or room for others to find their way to meet us in that flow. Instead of us waiting on them, we create the movement, the momentum, and then others can find us and join in and bring their co-creative energy to what we're already starting. And then it suddenly becomes this wave of expansive energy. And, for some of us, like, we're at the center of that wave because we're so clear. We're so clear on what it is that we're creating and where we're going and what it's going to feel like. And that clarity and that movement and that flow going through us, it brings people in. It creates these graceful, easy entries for people around us to just join in and then find their space within that flow, their part of the co-creation. In comparison, if we're sitting back here, stuck, waiting, getting impatient, frustrated, waiting on another call, nothing ever happens, you can feel the difference. It's like, instead of this flow of water moving forward and inviting others to come and be in that experience with us. So the examples that were coming to mind when I was thinking about this earlier, I've heard so many stories, especially when I worked in the financial industry. I've heard so many stories of people who waited to retire, and then as soon as they retired and wanted to start traveling, they had a heart attack, or there was an illness or cancer. And so their thing they had been waiting for all their lives, they never experienced it because they had put it off until there was the right time or the right circumstance. Another example would be people who are waiting for the perfect partner. They want to travel the world, or they want to start a business, or they want to buy a home, or right now even they want to have a child. So many of these experiences, you can begin the process. You can plan your trip to Paris and go by yourself, or go on a tour, or have a friend go with you, and create the momentum towards the way you would experience Paris if it was with your beloved soulmate. But go, create, experience it, and then the momentum starts to build, and there's this flow for the beloved to show up at some point, and then you go to Paris. Maybe you get to go to Paris twice. Paris isn't top on my list, but for some people, Paris is high up there. Mine would probably be Santorini, Greece, but I'm not picky. Oh, that's funny. And then, another example would be like what I mentioned earlier with running. I could wait until I felt like my body was really strong and healthy, and I could be home occasionally lifting weights or trying to do some jogging or stretching. And then when I feel like my body's ready, I'll go out and I'll start running. Or I could just start and I walk and I run, and I walk more than I run, and then I walk a little bit less and I run a little bit more, and then eventually I'm running. It's a beginning. Perhaps that's a better vibration for this feeling that I'm sharing with you. Waiting on others when it's at the expense of holding ourselves back from what we know we are here to do or create or experience, or the things that pull at our heart, that doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't serve anyone to hold ourselves back from that. And so just begin one little something that moves you a little bit closer. One tiny shift or change or commitment that opens up the flow, and then the flow carries you. The momentum carries you forward. The commitment to allowing energy to move through you, it creates more energy, and that's contagious. Flowing high vibrational energy, that's really contagious, and people like being around that. So you simply open it up. So that's the invitation for this weekend, is whatever ideas came to mind as you were listening, the thing that lit you up when you thought of it or heard me say it, start towards that. And don't wait. Don't wait on others. Begin. Yeah, and then maybe share your beginning over in the Soulshine Tribe, and we can all cheer each other on. All right, have a beautiful weekend, my friends. Thank you for tuning into this vibration of pure love. I invite you to join me in aligning with the optimal health of your mind, body, spirit in the virtual community of Viv's Energy Gym. You can learn more at mysouljourney.com. Let's take this message of Gaia's love out into all of our relationships and communities today. So much love from my heart to yours.